You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we're back.
Oh, we're back.
Ooh. Well, we're not back. We're actually on now.
We're on time.
Not really on time.
Oh, that sounds better.
6 minutes late. But, technical difficulties happen sometimes.
Oh, yeah, my life's a technical difficulty. I have a technical difficulty going on right now.
So Samantha happens sometimes, basically.
I know. I like this really bad spray tan.
Why would you do such a thing?
Because I wanted to.
Vain.
No. I was very concerned about other people's retinas around me since it's now swimsuit season.
Oh,
and I'm very
so it was considerate of you.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm like whiter than Casper, so I doing it for the benefit of other people. Like, ugh.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I've never heard that spin. That's really good.
It's not spin.
It's a good spin.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's better than getting a real tan. I mean,
it's true. It's true.
Safer.
Hey, it's good to have us both in the studio at the same time.
I know.
It's been a few weeks.
I've been super busy.
Well, yeah, we took turns last couple weeks.
I know.
So here we are.
It's been nuts, but it's good nuts.
It's kind of like a perfect storm to be able to have us both in the same room together nowadays because we are both very busy, and sometimes I have to take off, sometimes you have to take off. But hey, we're here. That's why we don't have a guest. We have a friend that might be joining us, but
maybe.
Probably not.
We'll see.
The traffic sucks.
See if she gets her shit together.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that a little bit later, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a good story. There's a lot of interesting things. I think.
Oh, my gosh, there's so much to talk about.
I want to start off with Maureen Dowd.
You want to start with Maureen?
Let's start off with Maureen Dowd. I am. Let's get to start it off strong. Maureen Dowd wrote a column. What was the title of the column? I got to pull that up. Don't harsh out our mellow dude. And Maureen Dowd, very famous columnist.
What a nice, serious journalistic title, right?
Totally.
I mean, totally. Not, definitely not snarky. I know Maureen Dowd's sort of known for her snark or whatever, I suppose.
Yeah, that's kind of what she's known for. So you got to expect that with her. And she's a good columnist, but her, pretty much almost everybody else in the mainstream media, when they start covering the Colorado market here and and start covering adult use marijuana and medical for that matter, there's a huge level of immaturity.
Oh, it's so immature, and it would
pretty much almost everybody else in the mainstream media when they start covering.
What's going on?
I didn't realize the sound was on, and I have the website on, so I started listening to myself.
Oh, you started listening to... that was just a little... Now
that's the delay. That was
now
the delay,
who's vain?
Right? Yeah, I know, right?
Now who's vain?
No, but so, the long and the short of this from you when you read her column is she tried an edible. She did, and you can read. As I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, I already know what's happening here because she tried an edible. She said, well, I didn't feel anything, so I had another couple of nibbles, and it's like, and already I'm like, oh, and here we go. And she again used the term that I hate using, overdosed.
Oh yeah, you're one of those.
Yeah, I hate overdose.
It's okay.
I mean, I agree. You call it a dose, and if you do too much dose, you do overdose, quote unquote. But there's a connotation when you say overdose. When I hear somebody say overdose, I expect a stomach pumping in the hospital.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I understand that too. I just wonder, what other term would you use to describe it? I know this is actually
overconsume.
Would you say overconsume? Maybe
overconsume.
But what happens to people who do have an unpleasant experience? Would you say an adverse drug event?
An unpleasant experience. So if it's an unpleasant experience. If I drink too much alcohol and I get the spins, do I call that an overdose on alcohol? Actually, alcohol, you don't say overdose.
I've overdosed on tequila before.
No, but alcohol, you don't say overdose. You'll say overconsume, or you might even say I got alcohol poisoning, because that's actually what happens is you get alcohol poisoning.
I like to call them the Blackies.
The Blackies.
The Blackies. Like a little Blackie poo last night. Got a little blackout.
Got a little blackout. So that's what I'm saying is let's start we have to at least treat it like alcohol, and we're just not doing that. At the very least, I think it should be treated more superiorly than alcohol is treated, but at least get us to that stage, please. And overdose doesn't make sense to me. Overdose, you can't overdose on your hospital bed by yourself and then wake up the next day recovered. It doesn't work that way when you overdose.
Yeah. And so I'll always get that. So she had an adverse drug event, an unpleasant experience.
Which is look, it's common when people are inexperienced with edibles in Colorado. When they come here as, tourists, tourists, it happens. that they overconsume because they don't listen to what they are told. And that's the thing.
Well, that's the thing. Matt Brown is on the record. He said, I told her they
Exactly.
spent several hours together that day. She said it wasn't. She responded and said that none of that was in the transcript. And I think he begs to differ, which I know that any bud tender worth their salt, if they know there's like a reporter right there, not someone with a hidden camera, but somebody who's like, tell me what you do. Oh, I tell them about this. I did, like, especially on, you know.
She shows that she didn't listen. She said, I took a nibble. I didn't get an effect, so I took another one. She didn't say what the time frame was
she even
before she
said
didn't
that,
get the
like,
effect.
just because it wasn't in the transcript, she's like, I think she sort of admitted she was told. She's like, well, we did talk about several things, like, but I just maybe let the excitement get to me and I didn't remember. Is like, I think kind of her excuse
So
about
then
it.
her piece needs to not be about the fact that it was an irresponsible industry. It has to be about the fact that she was an irresponsible consumer.
Well, she says she takes full personal responsibility for what happened.
But at the same point in her column,
Oh,
she
yeah.
points out that it needs to be
Listen.
more strict in the way we do things here. And it's amazing because we're already pretty damn strict.
But the only way to really solve this problem is like, it really is. Because that story, here's why I always think it's so funny that they want to limit the THC edibles to like 10 milligrams,
10
right?
milligrams.
Max, like individually wrap it, that's it. And like, you know, they're not saying they're going to do that. They're still saying they'll allow up to 100, but then you have to have it in like 10 severable pieces. That each piece has to measure 10, that you have to stamp 10 into that, or if it's a different number, like it's some sort of ridiculousness, right? So what they're basically doing is they're punitively, they're doing like a preemptive like punishment on people who want to do their business model higher than anything 10 or like provide for like,
No, I agree.
and,
I agree.
And, they're rewarding people who are going to do 10 or less. It's kind of like backwards. It's just so
Here's
ridiculous.
what's going to happen. If you do the 10, if that's all they're going to allow, what'll happen is actually the industry, the companies will most likely make more money, and the edibles will become more expensive.
Well, and everybody's like, "Oh, so what's wrong with that industry?" And I think industries like really does. I think there are some people who care about their consumers. And are like, look, just like you can buy 3-2 beer, or you can buy a very high percentage craft brew beer, which I know, or you can buy Jack Daniels, or you can buy Everclear or Absinthe. Like, can you buy Absinthe?
Not real
asking
absinthe.
for a friend.
Not
asking for a friend.
What do you mean, alcohol?
Yeah.
Can I go buy for a friend and
No,
then bring
I'm
it back to him?
saying not for me. Never mind. You missed the joke.
I did miss the toke.
Anyways, but you you could, just as you have that kind of a choice, I think they really care about. Otherwise, like you're severely limiting, like, oh, then it makes it higher quality. I'm like, no, it doesn't, because some people have like big chocolate bars. Some people have gummies. Like you should have a variety, and you're gonna force everyone to be like one single like little candy.
Yeah,
one size.
It's not a free market right now. It's just not being treated like a free market, like anything else, any other business.
But regardless, they think though. This is what's laughable about it. Like, regardless of, like, some people will argue, and I think there's a legitimate point to that argument that, like, look, edibles are getting a bad rap. This is interfering with legalization efforts on, a global and national scale. Like, I get it, there's, in Alaska, they're using it as ammunition. They're using it in ammunition in other states. But I think that, like, the problem that I think is being a missed opportunity for messaging and communication on behalf of the industry is that, and Matt Brown actually nailed it in his interview, which is that there's a severe education component lacking here. And it's not just like, oh, you need to have the bud tenders give a TSA sort of like 2-minute spiel at the register and let people know. I think there's just something, when you really are talking about when you and I grew up, our parents had wine at Thanksgiving, or Dad had beer
I had
while
wine
watching
at the age of 10.
Yeah, or Dad.
But because of that, because I grew up with it, by the way, I had kind of more of a European upbringing with alcohol. Because of that, I've never been a severe
Europeans
drinker.
have a lower incidence of alcoholism.
I've never been a severe drinker. It was something that I was taught as an Italian. I was like, wine is actually. It would be funny because I've heard this joke before. It's like, it's not wine. I mean, it's not alcohol, it's wine, because it was considered part of the meal. It was just part of it.
It's a cultural sort of normality to it, and so
I would get it mixed with water, and then as I got older, it was less and less water.
And even if like your parents didn't let you drink, you still are around your parents while they maybe drink. You were taking to sporting events, for example, as a kid, so you saw what drunk adults look like, so you understood, even growing up, what does sobriety look like? What does like responsible consumption look like? And there's no examples of that.
You're right. There's no. Yeah, you're
and
right. Society has to all learn it fresh.
And
that's
every
a very good
effort
point,
Sam. Every effort to jump over that hurdle and to introduce cannabis into the social, make it socially acceptable, it's outlawed. Try to have an event where people can come and smoke weed. City of Denver comes down on you and tells the symphony that you can't do it. You know, who's ringing?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry.
Focus.
I can't focus.
Yeah, that blue dream, it does take a focus away a little bit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either.
No, but and you can't. It's still outlawed socially. It's legalized. You can go buy it, but they still are trying to outlaw the social acceptance of cannabis. This is like Smart Colorado's thing. They even have said, well, what happens is risk perception goes down, right?
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
But they're complaining like that's a bad thing. And it's like, no,
exactly.
Risk perception does need to go down. What now needs to go up is like learning education, so you're mitigating the little risk that there is. But you still need to understand it. People need to be educated that if they overconsume on an edible, that such and such is most likely going to happen to you, to be prepared for that and that inevitability if you're over consuming. And when that happens, you need to you need to learn what are the things I can do to counteract this edible to the best that I can, because you can't really fully counteract it.
CBD drops, take a cold shower,
but yeah,
curl up in a ball in the hotel room.
But what's really important is to recognize you're paranoid at the moment. Play some nice music. You know, if you're by yourself, and first of all, that's the other problem, is she was by herself when she did this edible. Whereas I've been around other people that have had bad experiences with edibles. My dad included, actually, who had he was hypersensitive to very small dosage, actually. But I was there, and I walked him through it. I ended up having him laugh through most of the experience. And then he was like, yeah, I'm never going to do that again because I now have learned my mistake. But I'm not, but at the same point, if I was by myself, that would have been a bad experience from not having an educated person around. And he just happened to be hypersensitive because he was on a very low dose, but it's still, and that happens too.
And there does need to be look, industry sort of painted itself into a corner because it was so used to catering to the medical market, right? Mm-hmm. That they had gotten used to that kind of market. They got used to people who have higher, tolerance levels. And, when they turned to recreational, they probably thought...
There's a lot of amateurs, though.
They didn't. I don't think they anticipated that, some of these kids were probably people who were still black market smokers, not necessarily the medical market. They probably just thought it was all the black market people
and they did get
come
that.
out.
You're right.
And they got most of that. And that's why you see such a very, 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 very small percentage of... Right.
But there's going to be that percentage. It's just like, I don't know. I mean,
two bad stories out of, or 3 or 4, out of millions of edibles have been sold. Millions.
Yes.
And, it's, I think in how many alcohol deaths have there been?
Well,
how many accidental shootings do we read about every day?
It's probably not on the shelves anymore because it usually runs out within less than a week. But the May issue, I wrote in my letter to the readers, was all about perspective. And it was I was pointing out, okay, there are these 2 deaths that they're saying are linked to cannabis in the fact that cannabis was in their system. But, one of them guy might have a tuna fish sandwich. You could just say it was linked to tuna fish sandwich if you said it that way. The guy who shot his wife, they were saying he's schizophrenic. Well, that's probably what did it. The point of it is it's all about perspective. And in alcohol, the National Center for Disease Control basically states that alcohol attributes 88,000 deaths a year, which equates to 1 every 6 minutes. So let's talk about the perspective of you saying how many out of millions? 2 people? 2, 3, 4 bad experiences?
Yeah.
And Maureen Dowd, which, I'm sorry.
And
she's a reporter. She should know better by asking the right questions.
It's and Twitter sort of took a lot out of her on it. And it really is chugging a bottle of Jack Daniels. And according to Matt Brown, she was properly educated about the dosing and the amount.
And I believe Matt Brown would properly
educate her. And I do think,
look,
at the end of the day, yes, I think the industry has to offer those 5, 10 milligram people, and they need to have a rating system. But this is part of the education component that has to be done. It can't just be telling people. I just think it's funny that the only kind of education and the state and the regulators want to do or provide for is the kind of don't stay away from it and don't drive high.
Yeah,
they don't want to put into this responsible consumption aspect, which is so important. Well, it's so important.
And I know Matt Brown was very clear. I guarantee he was, because I took
Matt Brown's been in the industry for a long time, and he understands.
I had a similar experience where I took the travel writer for the Washington Post. She's a wonderful lady, and I'm forgetting her name, so I'll look it up during the break because I don't want to not mention her because she was great. And I took her around for a day for like kind of a private tour of the Colorado industry. And then she had like the more like tour. And the whole time I was educating her. I was like, this, and this. And yes, I did talk to her about dabbing, and I talked to her about oils and all of those things. But I also was very clear. I'm like, if you do this, then this is what you need to do. If you do this, then this is what you need to do. And I was like very clear, and I mentioned it multiple times for her, basically to the point where I think I scared her off on even trying an edible, which I wish I wasn't able to. She was a little gun shy about it, and it's not like full form into it. But it was like I was very clear that I did not want her to have a bad experience when she was out here and write about that in the Washington Post. I just didn't, that was important to me. And I know it would be very important to Matt Brown when he was with Maureen Dowd. So I find it disappointing that a journalist didn't listen to her source and follow what they said. So Maureen Dowd, I respect you as a writer for the New York Times, but come on, man, you got to start treating our industry with a little bit more maturity, just like we do, and that's the thing that drives me crazy.
Exactly, and it keeping things in perspective is super important, and well thought out and good public policy regulations are also very important, because you do want to mitigate.
Absolutely.
You want to mitigate and regulate as responsibly as possible and mitigate any kind of, and I hate this word. Unintended consequences. Ew, I hate that phrase.
All the time.
I know, but at the end of the day, no matter how you could put edibles under lock and key or ban them, it's never going to stop people from getting them, as we've proved the entire fallacy of the prohibition argument. Banning something does not get rid of it. Eliminating it doesn't get rid of it. Keeping it hidden under lock and key, is not going to get it, because at the end of the day, you can't legislate personal behavior and personal responsibility. But what you can do is educate people on how to behave responsibly.
Yeah.
That's it.
I do also want to comment, because if I was editing her piece, I would be really annoyed with the way she closed it too.
Are you criticizing the gray lady, the paper of record?
I'm criticizing the way she closed it, because she cheaped her way out of it, and the way she closed it, or way it was edited. And look, I'm not going to say that I.
How did? Oh, with her little snarky comment.
No. Well, yeah, she was actually quoting from one of our sponsors, from Incredibles.
Yes,
Bob, and he made the statement. He's like, pot goodies leave the dispensary, as she put it, because I hate to use the word pot, in child-proof packages, and it's the parents' responsibility to make sure their kids don't get a hold of it. So that's what his arguing was, and she paraphrased him, of course, because I know he didn't say pot. And then he said, somebody suggested we make everything look like a gray square so it doesn't look appealing. He said, why should the whole industry suffer because less than 5% of people are having problems with the correct dosing? And that's just a statement as a smart professional businessman to just say, why would you make our business do this? And just that. And let any businessman would ask if they were putting restrictions like that on him. And then she ends it like, does he sound a little paranoid? Total snarky ending. No, he doesn't sound paranoid. He sounds like he's being a completely reasonable person asking a very logical question. And for her to say that is just, it's so snarky. And it's, again, like a case of somebody in the mainstream media who is treating this industry with a lot of immaturity.
Well, and it's dismissive of the idea. I mean, to call Bob paranoid is to be dismissive of the idea that there aren't people out there actively still fighting against marijuana legalization, still fighting against, trying to ban edibles, trying to ban this. It's like you give them an inch on edibles, then you give them an inch on vaping, and then you give them an inch on, concentrates, and then you give them an inch on, high potency flower, then it's indica, then it's then what is it? Then it's like you're only allowed to have marijuana in a pill point. Yeah, that's it. Allotted, rations, marijuana rations.
Yeah, but it is happening. It is happening in other states, and let's just talk about our sponsor right now, because we have to take a break. But we're going to just kind of talk about Incredibles, because I do want to just say, first of all, I think
they have a great business model. They have amazing.
That's one of the things I was going to say.
They make a great product.
It's
easily separatable.
It's set
they
up that
make
way.
low dose, they make medium dose, and they make high dose
and they recommend their dosage on the package.
Yeah.
She was saying that dosage was not recommended on her package. I want to know what was the edible she tried, because
something chocolate and caramely.
Yeah, well, that you just described
exactly.
half of the company's products, but, of any of the companies. But look, Incredibles makes a great product. They are consistent in their dosing on the product, and they do make it easily divisible.
Well, you know what they just need to do? This is so dumb. They just No, one peanut butter cookie or one Reese's, I don't want to say Reese's Pieces, one little like gummy candy should definitely probably not have like 100 milligrams
Absolutely
in it, right?
not. Agreed.
No, agreed, right? And I understand like maybe it's up to like, and I think some people like are looking at the gummies even wanting to do 2 or 5. That way people can eat a little bit more because you can get like a little package of gummies, right?
And that is a school of thought is like make them lower doses, especially if you're making something good. Now, look, there's some edibles out there that I like for their dosage, but I don't like for their flavor.
Yeah.
So I don't want I don't want to have to take a lot of that edible to get that dosage.
And I agree.
But with Incredibles, I want to eat that whole bar.
It's so
I really
good.
do.
But like I want a bar that could be up to 25. I want a bar, or maybe like I could do like a Kit Kat where I just I want half this.
But
bar,
that's kind of what they have. I mean,
they do have that.
They're divisible into 12 pieces.
And they should be able to like look. You should be able to buy your 50 milligram, and I should be able to get like my 20 milligram, and then we should be able to eat 1 bar each because I would normally eat a candy bar myself. And I think what the problem is that they are confusing servings and dosing as part of it. I was sat in the committee, not on the committee, but in the committee hearing while they're talking about these edibles regulations. And it's, I think like to me, it's like if you don't want 100 in like one thing, make it proportional. Make it proportional to like the ounces or something of the candy net weight itself or something. I don't know. Maybe it's 5 milligrams I don't know. What's a candy bar, like 3 ounces?
Something like that.
Maybe
it's
like
on the candy bar.
Yeah, maybe it's like, 10 an ounce or something like that for however something weighs. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think it's something along those lines.
I think the answer is to let the industry do what the industry does and have a demand. All to me that matters in this situation is education. That's it.
I agree. Education is the biggest thing.
Let the industry groups form. I know that there is a infused license industry that's kind of forming right now. Our friends over at Mahatma Concentrates, Brett Mauser and Shannon Wilson, are part of that. I don't know if they are the ones who just put it together. It's under my impression they're leaders in it. But that I think it's great. I'm not sure if edible companies are included in that. I think they should be. Mm-hmm. But that industry itself, of those specific people, of that specific group, or groups like NCIA, need to work towards creating a marketing campaign and then and take the step themselves on creating that marketing campaign and say, look, this is what we're going to do. Instead of you telling us how to operate our business, we're going to go out there and educate the consumer so that when they do buy our product, we've done everything we could besides just labeling.
They are like they're talking about pamphlets at each that go with each purchase.
Yep.
Obviously we're talking about mandatory bud tender training that the bud tenders have to go through,
and that does need to happen.
And it should. I would just hope that now Med's saying they have to have another work group for it, and that which I get, but they've had the responsible vendor trading on their books, which they could be approving and they could be doing and they could have easily added bud tending into that. There's nothing that's prohibitive of them from doing that.
We had an editorial meeting yesterday for the next issue, and one of the things that was brought up from one of our writers, and we may write, it's not going to be labeled like this, but he's a very colorful person. He's like, we need to do a story on how to know when your bud tender's a dumbass. Because, look, there are a lot of amazing bud tenders out there.
Oh, amazing
but
bud
there's some dumbasses in there as well.
Exactly, the dumbasses.
Just like any industry.
I know.
But the dumbasses are the ones that are always going to be focused on, and that's the problem. Is we need to get to the point where we're like mitigating that amount, where we do have that,
which
training.
is a sort of professionalization of the industry. And I know a lot of people are, they hear that and they get all mad, like, all these people coming in. It's like, no, you guys, there's a certain sophistication and professionalization of the industry.
Yeah, there needs to be a tips training for bud.
Well, and it should have been something that Med established a while ago.
I know it's something that our friend has talked about. Who
yes,
has, who's I don't think she's coming in, so let's just talk about that.
This is what Cloverleaf University has been doing. Chloe
Villano has created the first accredited cannabis university in the country.
It's it's like $200 or $300 a class, right? Mm-hmm. For the kind of class you want to take. You can take 4 different classes to do a whole program. So she offers different kinds of programs, and then you can take a program. So you could pay like a couple grand for the program, or you could pay like a few $100s for each class, but the classes are comprehensive. They're not this like 1 hour, 2 hour training, or something you could she is starting an online school, but it's like not the kind that you just download. You watch a seminar for an hour. Oh, we're going to videotape our seminar. You're going to pay $100 for it online and learn something. No. This is like, real professional. I think she's taking a lot of care into it. David Letterman did a top 10 list on her. She was on Fox News.
Did he do a top 10 list?
Yeah.
On her? I didn't see that. I can
Yeah.
look that up.
And so, and I think it's going to bring this sort of like professional standardization of the training and education needed in the workforce that are going to be able to provide the education and training or education that's needed in the populace.
But there's another example in talking about Chloe, because she was on Fox News Business, and I almost feel. I know it's like you want to go on Fox News because you're hoping that you might educate somebody on something and like open somebody's
Well, again,
mind up.
you hope to be taken seriously, and they made a smart ass comment.
A
I
couple.
think.
It
What was
was
the guy's name? What's his name?
I'm trying to look up his
I
name.
can't
right
remember.
now.
Some
it's funny. You do the top search for it, and it actually goes on a Cloverleaf's site, not Fox News.
I'm sure he's some kind of blowhard.
No, he's an idiot. He's like an English. He's like a British Sean Hannity. He's like
British Sean Hannity.
You know what I mean? It's like
terrifying.
It is kind of terrifying.
It's like something from my nightmares. But I'm sure he's a very well integrated. He's got a lot of integrity and of course political acumen, and I'm sure he just does completely unbiased and serious journalism. I mean, being a Fox News employee, I wouldn't expect anything less than integrity and seriousness. And
exactly. And I'm trying to find the dumbass's name.
Well, he had, and one of the questions he had asked. So we.
Can people get high at the school? And he said it with like a smirk.
So can people get high in class? Is what he basically asked.
And then she's like, no. And then he's like, why not?
And she was thrown and like,
because she was ready for a real interview.
She was ready for a real interview, and they didn't take her, and it was bull.
And that's the big issue.
And all they wanted to talk about was like smoking weed. And are you going to teach people how to smoke? And it's like, would you go to class drunk? No, these are people who are, instead of saddling themselves with thousands of dollars of student loans. Thousands, isn't that's the number one crisis? Everyone talks about global warming, which is a huge thing, or climate change, whatever the fuck you want to call it. No, the number one.
I do want to talk about something on a global warming side.
The number one crisis facing America is not just jobs, it's the student debt bubble.
Oh,
it is going to burst. Our student loans are out of control. People are
and he's asking, can you get Pell Grants for this? And it was like she just told you what the class was.
It was like a $300 class.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to get a Pell Grant for a $300 class.
Like and I love then he's like, well, we have limited time. It's like, wow, you had 5 minutes maybe to do this interview. I forget how long the interview is. I could actually pull it up right now for the full one. It was 2 minutes and 46 seconds. If I'm a reporter and I have 2 minutes and 46 seconds to have an interview with somebody, I am going to ask them the most important questions I could ask. What is a class like? What are what's the curriculum? They do go into some of the curriculum, and why did you start this? It's always like I tell my journalists, who, what, when, where, why, how. That's what you have to answer every one of those questions.
Are you going to teach people how to
are you going to teach people how to get high?
And don't get me wrong, actually Cloverleaf is going to be doing some classes, I think, on consumer education.
Well, yeah.
Public, if you want to take
it's a sommelier class, I'm tasting.
Sort of like that, or maybe learning about craft beers or something like that. Yeah. And I think they are going to do something like that. But they're not. It's not going to teach you how to take a dab or roll a joint. It was just so ridiculous. It's so insulting. It was just insulting. That's like teaching. I'm going to do a class to teach people how to take Jello shots. Which I would actually.
Let me show you how to do a shotgun.
Let me show you how to chug beer.
Let's make a
which
beer
I, by the way,
bomb.
would be an amazing teacher on all those things.
Yeah,
so hit me up. I charge $500 a class.
Be proud.
Be proud.
But
you're talking about an industry that employs 10,000 people so far in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's how many badged employees are licensed under med. That's not even including the ancillary jobs, plumbers, carpenters, the grow industry, the supply industry. Publications. Yes, exactly. You're definitely not a licensed person under med. So we're not talking about Cannabis Radio, DJ jocks, whatever we are.
Yeah.
We're not really DJ jocks, are we?
No,
lobbyists like
DJ
myself.
Cox.
Yeah, lawyers, bookkeepers, accountants, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so not even counting those ancillary jobs, that kind of money into this, economy. And, and people are going to be able to now enter this industry. And now they're going to have some qualifications behind them instead of just saying well, I don't know, and I don't know how to grow pot, or I don't know the rules for, I don't know the rules for what kind of fertilizer you can use, or what, the license, how many cameras do I have to make sure if I'm going to be a manager of one of these stores? You need to know all those regulations because they crack down so hard on these businesses.
Absolutely. If you're a security company, you should already know how you're supposed to have to set everything up.
Yes,
before
exactly.
It
And those people can take it. They could take the laws and regulations.
Absolutely.
It's not just limited even to people in the industry. It's people who want to service the industry can learn these laws and regulations. If I was That's a perfect example. If I'm a carpenter or if I am a security business and I'm installing cameras at a dispensary, like I definitely want to know what their laws and regulations about how far the cameras have to be set apart and what kind of whatever it is. The DVR in the locked box is actually a huge one. That is a very important regulation that I've seen people get dinged on. And so for them to not take it seriously, for these kinds of classes in education to not only be offered at a high quality, but like at an affordable rate, and for them to take it like to make a joke out of it and like, oh, you're gonna teach people how to roll a joint and smoke pot, like what a bunch of douchebags. It just makes me so mad at the media. Between Maureen Dowd, who's a Democrat, by the way, Bush Democrat, she should know better. New York Times, it's a sophisticated publication.
Cheap. It's the cheap way out. I'm tired of the nod wink, the wink nodding that everybody's doing towards the cannabis industry.
Be a journalist.
Be a journalist.
Be a journalist.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna eat this whole edible and see what happens. Oh, I'm just gonna have somebody talking about weed. I hope they tell me how to roll a joint. He could someone get a master and like take it one day.
But also it's like,
master,
you know what?
Water bongs.
If you're gonna try to go the route of Hunter S. Thompson and all that, which she wasn't, but I mean, you know what I mean, going down that road. I'm gonna try it and get the experience. Why are you doing it in a hotel room by yourself? Why aren't you out there with other people in the cannabis industry and socializing? Because that's the whole point of doing something.
That's a whole deeper thing, David, where I talked about like, most of these, like, there's always this rite of passage. And because they're outlawing the social acceptance of cannabis, no social clubs, can't have it at events, can't smoke outside. You're only allowed to do it in your home in the closet where no one can see your naughty behavior, which, by the way, all you're doing is funneling people into an edibles market then, so they can go to a concert and
You're absolutely right.
And be
You're absolutely
stoned.
Right. Or vaporizer market. I mean, you could say that side too. But
which is still a concentrate, though. Not a lot of people. I mean, there's some flower vaporizers.
Even that is still much more obvious when I see somebody pick up a vape pen. I'm like, yeah, I know that shit is not an e-cigarette. I mean, it's like, you know what they look like.
And there's a lot of people that enjoy flower.
Yeah.
And so
I love my flower.
I'm a flower power girl myself.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just this contradictory asshole attitude, not only from like the media, but regulators who want to crap all over the edibles industry, which, like, I get it. It should be a little bit more responsible. It's a learning curve for them too, as much as it's a learning curve for everyone.
As far as I'm concerned, if I'm in a place where you're allowing me to smoke a cigarette or smoke a cigar or a pipe, which, I mean, I've had an occasional cigar. I'm not a huge fan personally, but I will say this. Most cigars literally smell like ass, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion.
Because they might get high from your secondhand smoke,
right.
David.
No, it's just, it's
but
not
that. But it's
that.
okay if you give them cancer from your secondhand smoke, from your tobacco.
Right. But like if I'm allowed to have that, or if you're allowed to have a cigar right across from me because you're on a patio that's away in a bar or whatever, then I should be allowed to smoke a joint.
Exactly.
That's all I'm asking.
I'm
not even asking to give me a place.
If I'm having a beer and a cigarette, I should be able to have a joint.
Absolutely.
I mean, they need to get over it. Like, get over it.
They do. They do need to get over it.
Sissies, get over it.
There needs to be an addendum to the Clean Air Act here, in which we just say, look, it's smoking of any state legal substance is allowed.
I could even be okay with at least allowing to vape in public because I think then eventually you can wear down the regulations.
Yeah, but vaping is one of those things that very few people are getting stopped for vaping in public. I mean, you can be stopped. Don't get me wrong, and people have been, but it is one of those things where I see people vaping in restaurants. I've seen them vaping in corporate restaurants, and nobody's bothering because they're sitting at their booth, and you just pull up a vaporizer and they do it because it doesn't smell like cannabis. And
it's I'm just saying in terms of right now any kind of public consumption is illegal,
absolutely.
And so as in terms of if they were just to say that, but at the end of the day, it's just not being taken seriously, and it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. I'm upset at the media.
It is.
I'm glad that we're a different kind of media.
We're fun media.
You're fun media.
Yeah, but in a way, it's funny because look, there's no way I could say that the Hemp Connoisseur is on a par with a publication. Obviously, New York Times or anybody like that. But what I will say is
a little bit.
Oh, okay,
I bet you treat your women better than they do at the New York Times.
Yes,
those sexist.
That is absolutely true.
That was true. New York Times, clean up your own house before you start coming after other industries about their irresponsible practices.
But what I will say is we do, obviously we have a bias tilt because of what we do in the industry, but we still, I think, keep it real in the way we communicate to our readers. We're very clear on making sure that we're maturely, doing that. If it's tongue-in-cheek, it's tongue-in-cheek, but, it's obviously tongue-in-cheek, but, we still, treat it in a more mature manner, and I think we're actually much more upfront in our education than mainstream media. I'm tired of them calling it pot and weed. And I'm really tired of the references to the munchies. That's getting ridiculous. I'm tired. I'm just. It's really very annoying. And then, like, while they were doing
the puns.
Well, we do puns, but we do it in a fun way. I mean, it's hard not to do puns in this industry for some reason. We made a joke about that.
But when the serious journalists do the puns,
I absolutely agreed. But there's a perfect example. So if you go to Fox News and you watch the clip of their interview with Chloe Villano, while they're interviewing Chloe, on the other screen next to her
my God,
is a bunch
terrible.
of guys smoking a huge, like ridiculously huge
like you're
joint.
interviewing someone about a school, you should use stock footage about people sitting in a classroom, or maybe they could have actually gone to one of her classes and used videotaped
that
people
would require
learning.
actual legwork.
It was all just this like video montage, stock footage, like guys with the like flat bill caps.
Look, it's one of those things.
Not even a grassroots hat.
And
either.
Chloe
Just
was very
offensive.
nice to him, and she just kind of tried to be as professional as possible. But part of me, I mean, and again, it's one of those things that we're all trying to put our best foot forward when we're in the media. But these guys need to start being called on it by people in the industry.
I know. We should call them out on that.
No. And so there needs to be something where it's like if somebody's going on Fox News, I mean, I know she was prepped to have like what the good talking points were that we're trying to get across in 2 minutes. That's what you have to do when you do an interview like that. But there has to be the conversation with anybody who's going out and especially on Fox News, but any of the media avenues, and say, this is how you treat the immature treatment of our industry by mainstream media. Call them out on it every time. Call them out for being an immature idiot. It's not pot, it's cannabis. If we're talking about alcohol, we're not going to keep saying booze, booze, booze over and over again. Because that's what I hear now when I hear mainstream media saying that. And I actually had a little conversation with some writers about that. Is like it's the more you say pot, the more you say weed, the more you say all of these subjects, it's like the more you're lessening what we do as an industry.
Yeah,
it just is.
I mean, there's different categories. Listen, you have concentrates, you have your flowers, you have edibles. Like these are the names of these categories. When they're come up in legislation, we call concentrates. It's called marijuana or cannabis in legislation. It's not called pot. It's not called weed. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. I don't even like the term marijuana, to be honest. I like using.
I don't like the term
cannabis.
marijuana. We tend to use it. We've been criticized about using it in the magazine, but I tend to use marijuana to do a shorthand distinction between medicinal or quote unquote social cannabis as opposed to industrial cannabis being hemp. And so we will do that a lot because we want to just specify the differences. Because when I say cannabis, I do mean hemp and marijuana on both sides. But at the same point, I wish we didn't have to do that. Yeah,
and it's nice to see that. Like, for example, John Hickenlooper seems to be softening his language a little bit. And hopefully, when your leaders take it seriously and stop being so, we've now gone from Cheetos and goldfish to him actually acknowledging that there's been a positive economic benefit from.
You can't deny it.
I know. And so
that's the thing. You can't deny it.
It only took him almost 2 years. So that's cool. Like a year and a half. It's not great. It's not bad. But, I think once the politicians start taking it seriously and then, the media takes it a little bit more seriously, I do wish the media would report on more serious stories in this industry, like banking, taxes.
It's getting
ridiculous.
touched on.
I know, but it's not the way it should be.
Channel 9 News, though, is the best, I think, as for local news here. For the most part. I mean,
Brandon Rittman's amazing.
He's done an awesome job.
Kristen Wyatt from the AP does a really great job. And she does the funny in the right way.
Yes.
She does it in the right way where she was doing her Twitter, by the way, is amazing. I think it's AP Wyatt. But she's great. And we were at the very first edibles working group, and she was tweeting along. And one of the first ones she said was that, of course, in Colorado, the very first issue that comes up regarding edibles is what are we going to do about the granola? Because you can't exactly demarcate or stamp the infused granola, and that's such a very Colorado thing.
It is. Though.
Forget
She's
the
right.
chocolate bars or the cherries.
It is though.
What are we going to do about the granola, guys?
Right.
And it's so funny, and I was like, that's the right way to do it. It's witty, it's smart.
But I will say this because I thought about that with the granola too because. There's a company called Julie and Kate's Baked Goods. And Julie Dooley, she makes amazing edibles, and they're all natural. She has granola and different seeds.
Yeah, I met her. I went to that monkey
She's
thing
awesome.
with her and Jane West.
She's one of my favorite ladies in the cannabis industry.
Monkey show, Monkey Wham. It was this weird art exhibition thing event. And
she's cool.
Yeah,
Julie's
totally
awesome.
Cool.
She's one of the sweetest ladies. And she makes one of the best granolas.
Yes, I had some of her
Not just
granola.
medicated, by the way.
Yeah.
That granola is good whether it's medicated or not.
I had some of her granola at that monkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this. Let me tell you about it real quick, David. I know
Okay,
you're giving
tell
me
me
like a
about
look. You know, we went to this. It was called Monkey Town.
Julie,
Monkey
if you're
Town.
listening, we need sponsorship for this segment that we're about to
It
do.
was a really good granola. It was it was like, I think I had like a 20 milligram or 10. It was like perfect. I even thought 20 was like a little weak, but I also took a couple CBD drops because I found that like, I kind of will get like a little anxious on an edible, but I found that if you take a couple CBD drops, you have a better experience if you do it about an hour before you ingest edible. It's like so nice, so mellow.
Really? You find
Yes.
it mellows it out? Because I think CBD will enhance it. If you do CBD before you take THC, it generally enhances the THC.
Well, I think it gives you the high without the paranoia. I found that if you take CBD
I can
drops,
see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying.
and if you're a person prone to like the paranoia, which I can kind of be because I'm naturally like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm kind of like high strung and uptight. And
no, I don't understand. I would
yeah,
never get that. No.
it's very bizarre.
No.
And I feel that it helps mellow me out with
Right.
marijuana or cannabis. If I take a couple of the CBD drops before and then like eat an edible and it's kind of chill, it's nice, it's relaxing. We sat in this really cool, you sit around this thing and they have these like big video screens in this cube, and then it's just like all this insane like video shorts where people have just got nuts and filmed all this like from old weird men running upstairs with knives. It's all computer animated. There was a couple live action ones too, but I mean, it's just like weird. I love weird, like super weird stuff.
Got it.
And we had a good time.
Good on an edible.
It was great on an edible. It was a
Sure.
lot of fun. And Julie Dooley is a great girl. It was her and Jane West, who's been doing those great events.
Yep.
Joe Megacy. Couple other people.
It's a fun group.
It was a great group.
Yeah, that's a fun group.
Yeah.
Right
and
on.
so, to sit there and say that this can't be like edibles, and that was a 20 milligram one. And I was fine.
Look, it's just like anything else. You have to know how to do it. And what happens is, just like I guarantee you New Orleans sees it on a regular basis because it's a big drinking town.
Huge.
And a lot of people in Vegas gets it as well. And just like any New Year's Eve, anywhere in this country at the very least, it's amateur hour when that happens. And if you are an amateur to cannabis edibles especially, or dabbing, which most people who come to Colorado are most likely amateurs, whether they think they are or not. They need to just recognize if you're not from Colorado and you haven't been consistently purchasing cannabis here in Colorado, including edibles and dabbing, you are an amateur and start fresh and like,
I mean, I look at it. I actually do think this could be completely analogous to alcohol because when I have an edible, so I have a higher tolerance, right? So I have to have a little bit higher concentration, not as many as most people, probably like 30 is about perfect, right? But I hate the taste of cannabis. I do. I cannot stand it. I have a very sensitive palate, and so I can really taste it. If I was forced to buy like 3 of those, and then now I have to pay, now I'm being punished punitively, like I have to buy 3, which I'm sure industry loves, but who's looking out for me, the consumer? Why do I have to buy 3 when my friend only has to buy
why do I
one?
have to buy 3
to get this-
chocolates now? Now I'm getting calories.
When
I
I
don't
can
necessarily
buy I
want.
can buy a beer, or I can buy a nice craft beer that has been well supported by our governor, which has alcohol up to 10%, or I can go
And
buy
it's
some
featured in the governor's mansion.
yes, and it's featured in the lovely taps in the top. They got a little taparoo going on, and or I can go buy some Everclear, and I can have a shot. At the same time, my one friend drinks a beer, and we both get just as buzzed.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
It gets frustrating, doesn't it? That we have to, sometimes it feels like we're beating a dead horse into the ground, but it's obviously like that horse keeps trying to get back up.
Dead horse.
But it's just like
Bad horse.
It's just you get so frustrated with the misinformation, the miseducation, the mistreatment.
Well, that's why I think the work that Jane's been doing. I mean, the work Chloe's been doing is great. Like not only is she educating the workforce, she's gonna be offering these like responsible consumption classes, educating the populace in general. She's also gonna we have people like Jane West who are doing these wonderful events like classically cannabis that show that this isn't just like a bunch of people smoking pot, listen to some Cypress Hill, although that's a great time.
no
an amazing time, or even a fish show. Eating a
I'm
brownie, running
more
around
of
Red Rocks.
I get into the roots.
Yeah,
When I get high.
yeah, or like
I do.
eating a
Reaching
brownie,
shit.
running around at Red Rocks at a Fish concert. Sometimes it's people who want to like smoke a vape pen and listen to some like Debussy, some Bach.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Whatever.
maybe
it
I
is,
want to go
whatever it
look at
is.
some like art. Maybe I want to go look at like the Egyptian art like museum. You know, if I can look at artwork and have a glass of wine, why can't I look at artwork and like smoke on a vape pen and really, really?
We should do
enjoy
top 10
myself?
recommendations if you over medicate or over consume.
That was like
edibles.
the worst segue ever.
I know. That was a blue dream segue.
Oh yeah, I know. You've really got to knock that stuff off on the break time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You should definitely. Well, I would. What I'm talking about is maybe instead of smoking a bowl of Blue Dream, you enjoy a nice Incredibles infused candy bar.
Then it wouldn't kick in until after the show, but then it would kick in right before I had to drive home. And
Eat
then it would be done.
eat before you.
I have
sit.
an Incredibles at home. In fact, I actually had their blueberry bar, which I have not. I couldn't believe it's the one I have not tried. I tried everything. You know, part of it's because I'm a big fan of the monkey bar because it's like I love banana and walnuts and all that kind of stuff. And then the Buddha bar.
Oh,
But
did you decide whether or not you're going to do bongathon?
am I going to do bongathon?
Yeah, because I was thinking we can get the Buffalo bar, and we can go make some s'mores.
I will most likely not be attending bongathon this year, and I'm really I'm really bummed about it. By the way, I am really bummed about it, but. No, because we were talking about one of the best parts about bongathon was when we were all hanging around doing s'mores with the with the Incredibles
I am a
Boulders
s'mores
bars.
making expert, by the way.
And we were doing, by the way, we were so
great at it.
over consuming because I was making s'mores with probably I was doing 25 milligram.
Yeah, but
per
we
pop.
also were. I mean, this was just
But we
like,
were already so full of cannabis. We were so cannabis soaked, so to speak, that it
Cannabis
wasn't
soaked?
even affecting us anymore. You know, it was to the point where you really couldn't get any higher, and it was just social fun. And it was almost like, God, I wish these. I would love to have Incredibles make non-medicated bars of the same exact flavor because they are that good, and just so I could just chow down on like tons and tons of them. And just make
Hey
s'mores.
Rick, can you just make us a special batch? No,
some-
no infused.
No,
we
give
just
me-
want the candy. Can I lick the bat? Can I lick?
Or
the...
you know what? Can you do a Russian roulette pack?
No, David.
No,
that is
just kidding. Just
irresponsible.
kidding. Totally
That's
kidding.
irresponsible.
No, I mean just for me. I don't
Oh,
mean
just for
I don't
you.
mean for the average consumer. I just want to let's play Russian roulette with our
Here we are having a great show about educating the general populace about responsible
Oh, no, no, no.
consumption. And
well-
you had to go out and bring in the phrase Russian roulette. You are not allowed to talk on the radio anymore. You're banned.
I was only speaking personally for myself.
I do not endorse
custom-made.
anything that David Madalena has to say. I am not affiliated with him in any way, shape,
That's
or
okay.
form.
The Hemp
except for
Connoisseur does
sitting-
not endorse anything I say either.
Even though you're the editor,
though,
you
yeah.
endorse what it says, pretty
I
much.
publish it. Yeah.
Oops.
No, I'm just joking. But,
I
it'll be
know.
kind of one of those things like, 45 minutes later, you're like, what?
What?
Well, we've been shouting out to
I don't-
Incredibles the whole
I
time.
just shout out to him.
We've
What
been
the
talking
fuck do
about
you think we're
Incredibles for like
talking
10
about right
minutes.
now?
They're getting more
You gotta
coverage
do a
than any
shout
other
out to
sponsor would ever
Incredibles.
get.
What do you think I'm doing?
No,
right
but
now?
by the way, the blueberry is one of those things that I'm like, I don't know about blueberry candy bar because I did the blueberry, I think it's from Incredibles, and it's actually really good. And I think the
Well,
reason
of
why I
course it's
avoided,
really good.
you know what it is? I think I have a thing about blue food.
Blue food?
Name another blue food besides blueberries.
Eggplant? Or is that
No,
like
purple.
in
Totally purple.
you're purple?
Can you name? Can any? And blueberries, by the way,
Blueberry
aren't
muffins?
even blue.
Yes, they are.
They are not blue.
Yes,
they're
they
purple.
are.
They are
Oh,
purple.
my God,
Name
they're so
a.
blue.
There's the question of the day. Name a blue food.
Blue raspberry popsicles, duh. Slurpees.
Real food.
Done.
Organic
Done.
blue food. No,
Organic
there isn't.
Slurpees.
Right? I think it's the only.
Slurpees.
It's the only color that I'm aware of that does not exist in like food. Really?
No, I bet there is. I'm gonna Google something. I'm gonna fucking find it, and I'm gonna be like, "Look, David, you were wrong." I'm gonna post it all over your Facebook.
Somebody find a blue food. See?
Yeah.
Our producer's already like
Facebook challenge
he's all
shit.
Siri in it right now. He's like,
Whatever.
buy me a blue food. And blueberries are gonna pop up, and blueberries aren't even really blue. They're bluish. Some blueberries are blue. Some are bluish.
As a Facebook challenge to like everybody out there, you find a blue food and post it to THC Magazine's Facebook page and prove David wrong. Because I'm sure there's some like exotic, like something from
There
like,
may
South
be.
America
There
you've never
may
heard
very
of.
well be. I'm just saying personally, I have not heard of a truly blue food or seen a truly blue
Yeah.
food. So.
I just think, what about bluefish, like sushi? Boom.
Oh, see, I wasn't thinking like that. I was
But
thinking
it's
more
not really
like produce. So that's interesting. So, is there
I mean, the
blue
meat's
fish?
not blue, but like, isn't the skin
Yeah, the
kind of
meat's
blue?
not blue, but yeah,
Like
well, you
animal
can eat the
skin. Yeah, you can see.
Ah, interesting. That may be that you
Nailed
may
it.
have found it out.
I always find an out. That's my job. That's what I get paid
Yes, you
for
are the
as a
spin
lobbyist.
master.
No, it's a spin master. I'm a creative solution
Anyway,
finder.
I was trying to talk about how I like the Incredibles bar. It was actually really good. And one of
Have
the
you
things I
tried
will
their
say-
gummies yet?
I actually haven't tried their gummies because I'm like a chocolate.
They're
fiend.
so cute. They're shaped like
I need
their
to try their
little logo.
gummies. I
They're
do.
so
I
cool.
do need to try their gummies. I'm not as huge a fan of those kind of candies, but I will try it because I know how good that their stuff is. But Jackie will probably love it, so I'll probably have to get some for Jackie.
How is Jackie and the baby?
They're awesome. They're doing great.
Mia Madalena.
Mia Lynn Madalena. She's growing
Mia
fast.
Lynn?
already. Mia
Oh, so
Lynn.
now it's even more melodic?
That's her middle name is Lynn because
Yeah, Mia-
Jackie's
that's
part
what I'm saying,
Vietnamese.
Mia Lynn.
You know, I'm Italian, and so Mia was the Italian name. Of course, the last name
Jackie's
is Italian.
part Vietnamese?
Yes, a lot of people think she's Mexican, but she's part Vietnamese.
That's racist.
No, I know that's what a lot of people think she is.
I have
but,
no idea what racism is, so.
No, it's okay. She makes great tacos, so maybe she is.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just joking.
Jesus Christ.
It's a running joke at home, but
With you and her, right?
of course,
No one else knows
no
about
one
that
else
joke.
is.
Now
no one-
everybody's just going to think you're like this mean.
I'm so not. Anyway,
You kinda are.
they're doing great. But Lynn is actually Vietnamese, so it's Linh. So her name actually means my gentle spirit because Lynn means gentle spirit.
Linh. That's really pretty spelling.
Isn't that?
Yep. Mia Lynn Madalena.
Mia Lynn
She
Madalena.
sounds like a movie star.
That's what everybody says. That's what everybody says.
Like
And
a 20s movie star.
I will
too,
say
like
this.
the
You know,
1930s, like
I
glamorous.
do want to say this because we don't post pictures on Facebook. I have like a closed site that we post pictures for friends and family because we just made the concerted decision not to
Why
put
did
it.
I not invite?
I'll invite you.
I want to invite.
It's been one of those that I invite people as they ask because I'm not going to be like, you need to get on the site and take a look at pictures of my baby.
You could say that to me and I'd be okay with it.
Okay.
Okay.
I will invite you today. But then you get to go and see pictures, and we post daily, and he'll say how old she is at each picture and all that kind of fun stuff. But I will say this: Mia Lynn Madalena, who probably could be a movie star
Lynn
someday,
Madalena.
has the longest eyelashes I've ever seen on a baby.
I know they're like little Betty Boop eyes. They're like this.
huge. They are. They are. I was like, they're like two Venus flytraps because they kind of they connect to each other now. We're gonna have to start curling her eyelashes so they don't get in each other's way.
Oh, I bet they get a little baby gook on them.
No, they don't. She
Doesn't
stays
get a lot
pretty
of sleepy
clean.
eyes?
No, she doesn't get a lot of sleepy eyes.
that's
But
good.
she's only she's 8.5 weeks now. She's gonna be 9 weeks on Sunday.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
for the first year, I guess I
Yeah.
did get a lot of eye
She's
babies.
growing fast, man. It's crazy. But she's a very happy
They
baby.
don't stop growing fast.
No, she's a very happy baby though.
My kid,
She just wakes up smiling.
Riley is taller than his grandma.
That was my first benchmark. Was I used to weigh check my height against my grandmother, and I was taller than her by the time I was like 8.
Yeah, he's 9 and he's taller than his Gigi.
She was short though. She was like 4'6".
Oh, she's itty bitty, but still. I mean, giant. Riley's a giant human being. It's kind of like when I cry at night thinking what he's going to do when he's a teenager.
How old is he right now?
9.
9.
And he's probably up to my shoulder.
Wow.
He's a tall kid. He eats and he eats and he eats. So you know something actually, here's a really cute story about Riley. So Joe and I went to go to the Alamo down in Littleton, which is that movie theater. You get to order the food and or they're playing E.T.
Right on.
So we had to go see E.T. and
First time you ever saw E.T.?
well, I asked him, I go,
Perfect
I
age.
thought it was
Perfect
his
age
first
to
time.
take a boy to see
Exactly.
E.T.
And I said,
Totally.
I don't think you've seen it before. He said, no, Mom, I've seen it before. And I'm trying to think, like, do we own it? Because I've got a DVD collection, but when's the last time anyone watched DVDs these days?
Seriously,
Really?
I know.
Actually, we do sometimes.
I don't even
but-
play CDs. I sold all my CDs after I downloaded and backed them up.
Oh, jeez. I'm way behind the times on that stuff.
Well, I had like 500 CDs. They took up a lot of space.
Yeah, and so so we went and we ordered food and he's loving it, and then I forgot that E.T. dies. Spoiler alert for people who are, I don't know, 2.
He doesn't die.
He does die.
No.
Yes, he does.
If he died, he wouldn't come back. He's not Jesus.
But he barely came back. He's kind of like a Jesus figure.
Okay, he's an alien Jesus figure.
He's an
kind of,
alien
I
Jesus
guess,
figure. Yeah, totally.
that likes Reese's Pieces.
And
Okay.
so, of course, he's an alien Jesus figure. Come
Okay,
on.
moving on.
Really, you want
Moving
to
on
get
from
onto
alien
the
Jesus.
symbology behind E.T.?
Actually, should you say he's an alien Jesus? Because there's theories out there that Jesus was part alien. So
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, Alex Jones, we are not going there.
I'm not talking
Let's
about
get back
Alex
to, like,
Jones.
listen,
No.
You're getting all like
I'm talking
weird.
about alien, ancient alien theory.
Yeah,
There's
tinfoil hat wearer. Weird.
There was no tinfoil back
Not
then.
only was our make-believe guy 2,000 years ago, but he was a make-believe alien guy. Like, I'm kidding. I'm
No.
not kidding.
I say I believe that Jesus existed. I do believe that, like any other story in history, things change and get embellished and overblown.
Made up. Okay,
That's
so anyways, the point being that we forgot that E.T. dies, and he dies. He like flatlined. You could people come back.
Okay, moving. So an alien flatlines.
He clinically died by media standards.
How did he come back to life again?
When they went away, Elliot cried over him and he felt all sad. His little Elliot tears brought him back to life.
His love brought him back to life.
His love brought him back to life.
I forgot about that.
And then Riley he was a sobbing mess. My shirt was soaking wet because he thought E.T. died.
Well, because they set it up like E.T.
Well, I mean, like Joe and I knew. We were like, oh, shit. We were like, oh my God, I forgot he dies.
Yeah, but then everything's awesome afterwards when he comes back.
But we knew that, but we were still a little misty-eyed ourselves. You know, it's very emotional.
Yeah, but he got better after he realized.
He got better,
but that's the whole point. Is
but when was
you gotta knock you down and then bring you right back up.
Besides E.T., and the only other example I can think of is The Lion King, which came out 10 years ago, 1994. When is the last time in a kids movie that the main character has died? And then, like, or any character that you've come to know.
Bambi's mom.
That was in the 80s. Next, that was even what?
Up, yeah, totally up.
The mom died. It was in the beginning.
No, the guy dies.
Oh, that's right. The guy dies.
Yeah.
Ooh, spoiler alert.
But his wife dies right at the beginning.
His wife dies right at the beginning.
Right,
no, wait, the guy doesn't die. No, wife dies.
And how Up is like 5 years old.
Oh, do you know that?
But look how rare it is. It's so.
I know
rare.
we're rambling about crazy stuff right now. Probably
no, this is like topical.
But he, I just read something interesting. There was and I don't know why I got interested in this because I don't even care. But Toy Story, there was this big theory going on about the whole Toy Story movies about Andy's father. Because Andy's father is not in the picture, and he's not in any pictures of the family. And so there's this whole like theory going on that Andy's father probably cheated on her or like ran out on the whole family and just abandoned them. Because if he had died, there'll still be pictures of him. She didn't have a wedding ring on. So, and if he had died...
Did you read that on Cracked.com?
I think it was on Cracked.
I can always recognize the Cracked theory, yes.
I thought it was hysterical, though, because I'd never been on Cracked, actually. And I just saw the link, and it was like, something about him. And I don't know why I clicked on the link, because I don't really care about stuff like that. And then I read this whole long diatribe of this theory, and I was like, you guys have nothing to do with your time to start going into the theory. And I just kept reading. I'm like, where are they going with this crap?
Oh, my God. Cracked.com is a rabbit hole. You could just, like, read articles all day. Sometimes it's a fun website.
But it's all crazy, just theory and shit like that.
Some of it's, like, like, kind of weird, bizarre, everyday facts and stuff like that, like truisms and things like that. I like Cracked. It's a good website. Now that is an example of responsible journalism. Cracked.com.
Right, Cracked.com.
Sorry, I keep that for those who can hear me. I said that was an example of responsible journalism. Oh, you could. Yeah. I know. He keep hitting the cord and it keeps going in and out. I know.
We're rambling and rambling.
We're not rambling. What do you think, David? What do you think radio is if not people rambling? We are coherently going from one subject topic to another.
You know what I love is
this
is coming from the person who, when I brought her into the station, she's like, David, I am going to bring structure to your show. I am going to have like outlines, and I'm going to you need to structure how the show is done. And now this is the person who's like, radio is just rambling.
First of all, listen, Linda. Listen. No, I was saying that I would have thought that would have been a good outline to bring, and you never followed through on it. I had the idea. I thought you were bringing
the outline.
Well, I gave you the idea. You want me to do all the work for you? You're the editor. You're the control freak. I figured you would say we're gonna do a news, and I was waiting for sound effects.
I didn't have time. I don't have time for
the news hour. Now with the news.
I tried. No, you know what? I tried having outlines, and that was the thing. Is in the beginning I tried to have an outline, and I tried to follow it, and I found that no matter whether we had a guest or whether it was just two people shooting the shit, it never lasted. It was we ended up hitting 1 to 2 lines of the outline, and we went here's a perfect example. I wrote down on a piece of paper today a mini outline. I wrote down at first Maureen Dowd. Yes, check. Talked about Maureen Dowd. I wrote about Cannabis Summit. Didn't say one thing about the Cannabis Summit.
Yeah, you forgot about that.
Banking.
Talked about.
Didn't say anything about that. And then you said we want to talk about Jane West and the Symphony, which we did talk about last week. So
we talked about banking.
What did you say about banking?
That the media isn't taking it seriously enough as a pertinent issue.
We were talking about media.
What else are we gonna say? I've already talked about it. Nothing's really happened so far, except we're still waiting for Hickenlooper to sign the marijuana cannabis co-op bill.
What's that about?
That bill that they did at the end of session for to allow cannabis businesses to form a co-op that's an insured financial co-op.
Right.
That banking bill.
Gotcha. That bill. There is that. There is an interesting story I did pick up on where somebody is being indicted for being a caregiver.
Oh, that guy, Oak Buds.
Okie Buds.
Okie Buds. I know.
Okie
I was
Buds.
having lunch with Congressman Brown the other day, and he brought it up.
And it's like, so this guy had a space that people could go to.
His house.
It was his house? No, he had more than a house. I think he had a business, like a front door, I want to say. I'll have to pull that up right now. But
yeah, you pull it up.
Unless I read that wrong.
Talk into the mic.
But basically what he did was he had a place where people would come to get their weed, and they would give a donation for it. So he's saying he wasn't selling it.
This has been not kosher for a long time.
Oh, and he had on his website that he did delivery services.
They did this shit in like Colorado Springs. Some guy got busted for that.
Was it
like
called
Okie
Buds?
Buds. A long time ago, this
First
guy
of
got
all,
busted for it.
He has a title, Okie Buds.
Yes, bad.
Okay, you're not just a dude now. You're not just John Smith, who's a caregiver. You're Okie Buds. You have a title. You are now a business. If you've given yourself a title, you're a business.
And if you're a business, you need a license.
Okie Buds Workshop is not the right site. I was about to say that was Okie Buds Workshop. Okie Buds. Let's just put caregiver.
More like Nopey Buds. Nopey.
Pulling this up.
You can.
Okie Buds Moved.
Okie Buds Moved.
Okie Buds Moved. That was in Yelp.
You can.
Okie Buds.
Quote me on that. Oh, it's in Yelp. So you got Yelp reviews?
He's on Yelp. He has reviews.
I don't get reviews on Yelp.
Okie Buds has a website. At Okie Buds, we pride ourselves on making an extra effort to grow and cure the finest MMJ that can be produced. With over 80 years of combined cultivation experience, we have developed and tried a tried and true method that produces the best MMJ.
I can't see the website. Is it the same?
Here. It is Okie Buds with a Z.
Yeah, that was him. BZ.
Location. Let's look at the location here.
Is it located in Denver?
Okie Buds is on 980 East Hampton in Englewood, and it does not look like a house at all from the picture. It's hard to. Let me make this.
But wasn't he? No, this one was in Denver. So it's in.
Yeah, it's in Englewood. Well, there was another.
We sure this is the right Okie Buds. Regardless,
how many Okie Buds can there be that serve cannabis? Open hours. He has open hours. You are not a care.
Are you sure that's the right website?
It says Okie Buds with a Z.
All right. Regardless.
Okie Buds, Pipes and More. Okay, so that's on 980 East Hampton. So he's serving pipes. He's saying it's pipes. I'm just confused by this. And, I'd really be interested in having this guy on, actually, and ask him some questions as to why he thinks what he does is legal. Because he has a place of business, as far as I can tell. He has a website. There's a name for his place of business. If you're a caregiver, you don't have a name for your caregiver business because you're a caregiver. It's not a business. Mm-hmm. You should be paying taxes.
Preach. And license fees.
Yeah.
Preach it.
And I think he has something like 120 plants or something like that.
Yeah, I thought he had 180.
180? Yeah, it was 180. You're absolutely right. It was 180.
Which is like ridiculous.
That's a lot of plants. So, I'd like to know, does he have the patient count to match that as a caregiver? I just find the whole thing kind of ridiculous that he has this. He has a Facebook page.
But look, all this is showing is that now, this is what enforcement should be going after. They should be going after the people doing. I know. I loved how in this article he was like, I haven't been arrested, and then that night he got arrested.
Of course he did.
Dummy. Sorry, I probably shouldn't call people.
Oh, I love it. It's 21 plus to enter Okie Buds Pipes and More. And more. We know what the and more is.
So he was marketing himself as a weed shop or a pipe shop, paraphernalia shop.
Well, and it says under about it says co-owner at registered MMJ caregiver, okiebuds.com, and caregiver at Okie Buds.
Oh, jeez. Hey, that's just whatever. But you know what? At the end of the day,
but again, you know what? He's only being followed by 7 people, so he hasn't really done a lot to get a lot of popularity.
He's gone. He's a bad actor, obviously, and now he's done.
Yeah.
And now, they caught him, and this is what enforcement should be focusing their efforts on, and not dinging a license because they they have 29 out of 30 security cameras inside their show. Or as I just saw Tony Fox today at 3D Dispensary, and she told me a cop came into her shop and told her to take her bongathon poster down because it had a weed leaf on it.
Yeah,
on the
who
inside,
told her to take a what?
A police officer. I told her I didn't think that was legal.
That's not legal.
I didn't think so, but she's like, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, these people are out of control. It's
Where is she
ridiculous.
located? Is she in Denver?
Yeah.
She's in Denver, right?
She was like the first shop in Denver to open.
I know she
officially.
was.
Yeah.
Well, there was like 5 really, but
Well, she was the one where everybody.
they were the
made a
one
big
they called
deal.
the official first shop. Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that. That's a violation of freedom of speech. That's a First Amendment violation.
I mean, it was just patently ridiculous. Like, this is what the police officers coming into one of the more, her shop is so well run that Med uses it to train some of their enforcement officers on what to. So it's efficient enough for the state to use as a training ground, right? But God forbid, she has a poster up, that's what the police are coming and harassing her. She's she says that almost every other day she has some kind of public official in her building harassing her about things. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is absolutely. Now, this is madness at this point. This is the kind of things they should be going after. They should be going after these people who are doing things clearly outside the scope of the law and regulations. Not just
I think they should do. I think there should be.
Ridiculous.
You know what? I think every time a public official walks into a dispensary from now on, they should get a camera out and film the entire experience. Every dispensary in Colorado should just make a collective agreement that when a public official comes in, you're going to record the entire interaction with that public official. Seriously, because I mean, think about the amount of footage that they can get on there.
I know.
It's like, hey, you're allowed to do it. You say, hey, by the way, if you come in here, you're agreeing to be filmed.
Most of them are filmed, actually, considering how many security cameras.
With the security cameras, but there's no sound on the security cameras. So I want sound. I want to hear them speaking to them. I want to hear how they treat them, how they talk to them, and I want to hear. I want to hear them basically violating their First Amendment rights by telling them they have to take a bongathon poster down because there's a pot leaf
It was
on it.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was
So stupid.
So stupid. It was. And this is, I get it. I'm I get the industry's frustration sometimes with this. But this is exactly the point. They should be going after this dude, Okie Buds, and is ridiculous. I mean, this is clearly someone operating outside the scope of regulation.
Absolutely.
And the state law. And those are the people they should be spending their time busting, not policing 3D dispensary located at 43rd and Brighton. And
we expect
that was a free,
retroactive sponsorship dollars.
Whatever, Tony, you get us for free because we love you. But because she had a bongathon poster in her dispensary, that is just patently absurd.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is, and it's like I said, it's a violation.
Or
of First
she
Amendment
was
rights.
told that she couldn't advertise in High Times magazine. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, they're told they can't advertise in High Times magazine because it's a national publication, and right now, local businesses in Colorado are not allowed to advertise in a national publication.
That is so ridiculous.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
Totally agreed.
This place, go after Can we go after the rapists, please, and the murderers and the
Seriously.
you gotta
have better things to do now. You must have better things to do.
And while we're at it, Denver, stop
to
booting
actually-
my car.
Well, start paying for your parking tickets, and they will not boot
Whatever,
your car.
God. If they just made an app for that, we would not have this problem.
I am Samantha. I am above the law.
That is not what I'm saying. I just
Yes, it
say
is.
sometimes
Totally is.
these
You're
things
just
get
like, well,
forgotten.
I'm a cute girl, so I don't have to pay for
That
my
is
parking
not
ticket.
either as offensive you would say
I
that.
have a new spray tan. And so
Oh, my
I should not have to pay for my
God.
parking. See how I just closed the show? Because we actually have gone way over now, and we have to close it.
I'm letting the
So
air
I'm
out of your
closing
tires
with
later.
the beginning.
You're mean.
I'm closing with the beginning.
This spray
Talked
tan
about
is for
spray
the
tan.
benefit of other people.
It is. I know. Thanks for caring so much.
Would you
about
rather
it.
I lay out in the sun and get lobstery skin cancer?
No.
Is that what you want?
I wouldn't.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for not blinding me.
You're welcome. So mean.
All right.
I
Thank
get
you
no-
for listening.
I get no respect. I get no respect.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Incredibles, for being as incredible as they are. Check out Incredibles at your favorite dispensary.
Medically correct.
Medically Correct is the company. Incredibles bars.
Is it medicallycorrect.com?
I believe it is medically.
Sure, let's just say that. I think that sounds right.
Let's just double check it really
He's
quick.
going to double check that, and I'm going to say thank you for listening. We'd like to thank Incredibles.
IncrediblesColorado.com.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
Good,
All
'cause
over
I
it.
spelled medically
About time
wrong.
you did your job, producer.
IncrediblesColorado.com.
I know.
And check out all of their favorite selection, and then I think you can find out where everybody is carrying them because they are super popular. So I would call
Super
ahead.
awesome.
They are, and I would call ahead to your dispensary that says they carry them to make sure they have them in stock because they run through fast. So thank you so much, Incredibles, for supporting us here at the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. We love all of you guys out there.
Get your Incredibles before the fascists come and take them away.
Big shout out to our friends over there, Rick, Bob,
Yeah.
Yvonne, Greg, Mr.
Citizen
J.
J.
Brown, Mr. Tom
Citizen J.
Moschino.
Derek and now they have Incredibles extracts too. They have an
And they have
extracts.
Incredibles extracts as well. So check
Yes,
all
Derek
their products
Cummings,
out.
Max Eisler, and some guy I saw who just got knee surgery. I don't know his name. He looked like he was fresh off the boat, though. He's a
There's
dork.
a FOB.
Yeah.
Got it. Right on. Well, thanks for listening to Hemp Connoisseur Radio. Until next time, peace, love, and
Hempiness.